I'd like to make a little comment today on the whole subject of war. This arises as a result of reading the story about Harry Patch, who died at the age of 111, the last surviving veteran of the First World War, who was at the Battle of Passchendaele, a machine gunner, and must have seen the horrors of the First World War. He was strongly against war itself. And when you consider the millions of young men slaughtered in the First World War to no effect other than the decimation of that generation, the best and brightest of that generation, you realize that that war plus the Second World War has really achieved very little when you think of the state of mind of people today. The answer to the problem of terrorism appears not to be finding out what is the cause of terrorism, what is the injustice that causes people to commit suicide in delivering bombs. We don't ask that question. We don't reason with those people. We send our troops to Afghanistan to stay there from, what was it, 2002 to 2011. That is 8 years. 9 years actually. But the fact of the matter is, it achieves virtually nothing. It alienates and isolates and criminalizes more and more people in Afghanistan, and it causes the world to pay more and more money to maintain forces in an ambiguous and undetermined war against an enemy that is basically an ideology. And the result of all this, coming to the conclusion that I've reached, we must realize that war is not a method by which rational goals are achieved. The First World War, the Second World War achieved nothing but vast and unmitigated destruction, and it achieved nothing in the way of saving the world from communism, or achieved nothing in the way of maintaining freedom or peace. Since the Second World War, we've had nothing but minor wars all over the world. And with the situation in Iraq and Afghanistan, many more people are being enslaved than just the soldiers being there, because the taxpayers of the United States and of Canada and of Britain are being burdened with a war that cannot be won. My hope, therefore, is that, in echoing the words of Mr. Patch, it was not worth it. It was not worth one, let alone all the millions. That's a very profound statement. And not that the losses of life in Afghanistan are anything like they were in the First World War, but the loss of one is really too many in a pointless and futile endeavor. Our military should not be engaged in foreign aid using force. It achieves nothing. It will alienate more and cost the taxpayers and increase the size of government immeasurably. And therefore, I urge those of you who believe in what I've had to say to write to your Member of Parliament and advise them that 2011 should be the end, not what the NATO chief now wants to go on forever. Like George Orwell said, perpetual war for perpetual peace. It won't work, and it'll be a disaster for the whole world. So, once again, I have to say, it's the Canadian foreign policy. Western Canadians were never asked, and to achieve a sound foreign policy, we have to free the West.